We welcome on a very special guest, record-holding Texas A&M quarterback, Orange Bowl winner, third-round draft pick by the Minnesota Vikings. It's Kellen Mond. Kellen, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I appreciate y'all for having me on.
So it's awesome to have you on. We're excited for the game this week, obviously. Wanted to get into this. So you were one of three SEC quarterbacks to record over 9,000 career passing yards with over 1,500 rushing yards. Do you know who the other two guys were?
I believe it's Dak Prescott and Tim Tebow.
You already knew.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
already
yeah.
had it. Yeah, so that was awesome. I found that when I was looking up some stuff and I was like, damn, that is crazy.
It's a good
So
list,
Yeah, that's a special SEC list. That's a special one.
too.
yeah, I mean, you were the man, and there was definitely like an underappreciation at the time. But we'll get into that. But I mean, you've got every record at A&M as a
Hmm.
quarterback, so it's pretty badass. So,
Nice. Yeah, I mean, looking at your career, let's just go all the way back to your very first snap as an Aggie.
Hmm.
It was a UCLA game at the Rose Bowl. First game of the season, Starkle is the starter. He goes down. Me and Agjack were actually at the game. Obviously, there was an insane meltdown. We don't have to get into that at all. It was awful. It was the second biggest college football comeback of all time, too. We don't have to get into that either.
Yeah.
But what was the locker room like after that game? And honestly, how were you able to bounce back? I don't feel like our quarterback room bounces back from that, but you were able to do it. How'd you do it?
I'll definitely say it was extremely difficult, especially a guy who just got on campus. I graduated early, but first ever game and really a game that me and just about everyone in the locker room, including coaches, thought I should have been starting. So I probably didn't even have the right mindset going into it because I was so upset that I wasn't starting. And so it was one of those deals where Sumlin told us, "Hey, you and Nick are both going to play. Nick, you're going to start it out." And I took that in a negative way. Like I thought I should be the guy. And just about everyone thought I should too. And looking back at it, Sumlin probably didn't want to throw me into the ropes. First game at the Rose Bowl, first time in college football. So, but at the time, I didn't really know that. So I probably didn't have the greatest mindset going into the game. Probably it's not good going into a game pissed off and your numbers called. You know, I think it was sometime in the second half, and then probably the worst possible things ever for Texas A&M happens, both on our side of the ball on offense, defensive side of the ball with the ball going through defensive players' hands and things like that. So it was extremely tough to deal with. And, it's probably one of those things too, as well. The coaching staff was, looking up at the scoreboard, looking up the amount of time we had to see if we can just get out this game. And, when you kind of have that, let's try not to lose mentality, you end up losing. So it was definitely tough, but I always felt like I was strong willed. And, at the end of the day, the starter went down. And so it was for me to step up.
that's crazy because we talked to Dalen Mack a few weeks back, and obviously he was there a little bit before you during the whole like Kyler and Kyle Allen thing. But
Hmm.
it was so similar with it felt like the whole team knew that one guy should have been starting and the other guy was starting, and the coaches just couldn't make like strong decisions with that. So I don't know if
Hmm.
there's something to that. Like, do you think that that was a coaching thing? I mean, I know you said that maybe he wanted the veteran guy to get in because of the situation, but do you think that's part of why maybe we moved on at the end of the year?
I'm not sure. I never talked to Sumlin about it. I think it would be cool if I could ask him, years later. But I think they didn't want to throw a freshman quarterback first game into the Rose Bowl against, a good team and then a opposing quarterback as a projected first round pick. Maybe it's not a good thing to throw your highly touted 5-star quarterback into that and maybe destroy his confidence or something. So, but it was interesting because the last scrimmage we're going into, a bunch certain coaches and even players, before the scrimmage, they walk up to me and they're like dapping me up saying, "Hey, make sure you end it today, making sure you end the competition." So I felt like I was already winning the competition, but once I heard that, I was like, if I just have a great scrimmage, then I know I'm the guy. And so I had a really good scrimmage, and everyone knew in the building. And so we go meet, I probably with Sumlin a week later. He's like, both of y'all are gonna play, but Nick's gonna start, and I just like shut off. So, but it could be a A&M thing, and probably potentially regretted it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's been a weird run of quarterbacks ever since you kind of were the steady guy for so long.
Hmm.
We'll kind of get into that later on. But so we go to the end of that year. Someone obviously gets fired. Jimbo is the guy that they bring in. So I'm wondering because I think I looked at it and the transfer portal actually opened that year. Did you ever think about making a move, or did you like? Was there something that kept you at A&M?
Nah, I honestly never thought about transferring. I know the transfer portal's huge now, but I was like, I'm in a good situation. I get a fresh start with a new play caller and a big time head coach who knows nothing about me besides, maybe certain things you've heard around the building and nothing you know about Starkle. So everyone in the locker room gets a clean slate. And if I could just put in the work and improve, which I knew I needed to make improvements, then I could be the guy. So it was just head down that whole entire, off season. And then whenever I was named the starter, it was one of the greatest feelings. I told my parents and I mean, they were emotional. It was huge, especially after what I went through the year prior to be able to come back, get an opportunity and be able to win the starting job. And so, um, I felt like my freshman year, you can make an argument that I left the competition too close. So my second year, my goal was to just obliterate the competition and leave no doubt. And that was one of the things Jimbo said.
So I don't know. Did you feel like Jimbo made you a better quarterback overall? It sounds like he did.
Yeah, he did. And I think one of the interesting things is his track record speaks for itself. There's room for, arguments about his play calling, decision making, all these things, but he's produced arguably more quarterbacks than maybe anyone in college football. I mean, there's probably some names, Lincoln Riley, who's produced some first rounders, but Jimbo's produced a bunch of big name guys in multiple different schools. So he definitely did a great job with me, and I'm thankful for Jimbo.
Is it like is it like a noticeable difference between someone and Jimbo? Is it just the way he thinks about it? He comes in, it's the new perspective, obviously, but is there just like
Mhm.
certain things that he looks at that you're like, I've never even heard of that before to think about while I'm playing this game?
Yeah, I think Jimbo was just extremely hands-on, and especially primarily on the offensive side of the ball. And especially when he was there, his goal to establish a culture, and part of that yelling was trying to establish a culture. And sometimes it just takes small wins to propel you forward and lead you to where you want to be towards the end of the season. And that small win for us just happened to be in 2020 against Florida, and we ended up going on a run. You know, it could have been earlier, in my opinion, if we would have won the Clemson game. We could have
Yeah,
started that earlier. So there were, who knows if we would have won that game, we might have had the type of confidence that we know we can go out and win games, not just play in tough games, but win games, do well. Or my sophomore year in 2018 probably would have been better in 2019, but for us it just took that one win, and that one win was in 2020 against Florida.
For the record, the ball definitely went out of bounds. That was not a freaking touchback. I don't care what anybody says. That was not a touchback. No way. No way.
Yeah.
so another question about Jimbo. We've
Hmm.
heard so much about like the terminology and like the playbook being pretty complicated and everything that he's throwing at the quarterbacks to be a little bit overwhelming. Is that as complicated and kind of crazy as people say it is, or do you think that's a little overblown?
I would definitely say it was complicated. It wasn't necessarily verbiage or anything. Sometimes it was how complex the reads were, and I think a lot of it came with his yelling and style. You didn't really want to make a mistake, and so anytime you're playing quarterback on eggshells, it's probably never a good thing. And so the flip really in 2020, me and him had a conversation about that yelling, and us, primarily me, but a lot of the players not being able to play free. And we had a conversation, and I kid you not, you can ask anybody from that team. He probably throughout the season, I don't know if you can count on a handful of him yelling. Probably didn't yell 5 times the whole entire year.
Yeah.
And I think one, it allowed us to play a lot more free, played a lot more with confidence, but it also allowed a lot of the veterans that we had on the team, offensive line, besides Kenyon Green, that had been starting for a while, receivers who had been playing before Jamon Osmond and those guys opted out. Spiller had been playing for a while. Anais was experienced enough, so he really allowed the guys on the team to pretty much run the team, me get on certain players instead of him doing that yelling. And that, I think that made us a lot closer, and we played extremely free. Even in the game we lost against Bama, the offense was rolling. So I thought we played a lot better, and I think that was the biggest thing, the biggest change going into 2020.
That's definitely interesting because I feel like towards the end with Jimbo, we did see him like he was screaming at quarterbacks a lot, and that was
Yeah,
kind of very evident. All right, cool. Well, that's awesome to know about. So let's talk about LSU. We've talked about LSU with like so many different guys that have come on the pod, like Jay Sternberger, Dalen Mack, everybody that participated. That was one of the most insane games in college football history, obviously. Kind of
yeah,
kind of screwed us over this week if you think about it. That might be your fault. You might be the reason we
yeah,
lost this week. Um,
yeah,
so I mean maybe
potentially.
potentially. I'm just messing with you, but so you're going toe to toe with Joe Burrow, you're slinging it back and forth. My question for you is, did you know your knee was down?
No, I did not. Honestly, I thought we lost the game. Even Jimbo did, and he was asking me, kind of why I made that decision. And then just like at the snap of a finger, someone must have buzzed him in the headset and saying, look up at the scoreboard or something." And he's basically saying, "Hey, we might get another chance."
I
So
mean,
you literally go from the mindset of you literally lost to I get another shot, and we went down and scored in uh, probably 5 more plays, 4 more plays. I think we had an incompletion the next time, hit Kendrick Rogers on the right side, spiked the ball, and then Courtney Davis for a touchdown.
you saw they poured the Gatorade on Coach O.
Yeah,
It was done. That was
yeah,
I mean that was one of the most hilarious things that's ever.
yeah,
And
yeah,
speaking,
yeah. I mean, it was. I don't know who. I mean, if you were there, I mean, it seemed like people were leaving and people ended up on the sideline. It just everyone was packed on the sideline. Certain people left. I heard Johnny Manziel left and couldn't get back in. I don't know if that's true or what the deal was. I heard that, but I'm not sure if that was true. Yeah, that was it's kind of weird. The game was really an average game until the fourth quarter. There was, some touchdowns, some big moments in the game, but the fourth quarter towards the end and then the 7 overtimes is the moment everyone's going to remember.
it's that classic like, oh, I'm gonna go to bed like in the fourth quarter or whatever, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you miss a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But speaking of Kendrick, one, did you know he was gonna go off that game?
Kendrick, he was the guy who was somewhat sporadic, but primarily because of injuries. He always had the talent, but it was always something with, a knee or, foot or something. So I felt like the injuries really plagued him and did him a disservice. But I mean, we had the talent and, we are able to show against Clemson, against some of these big time teams, when we're healthy and, when we're playing confident, then, I mean, we were unstoppable.
Most definitely. It felt like it sometimes, especially, I can't remember if it was the last touchdown or if it was the second to last one, where you're getting chased, you're running for your life, and you just throw it up for Kendrick. Kind of like that meme, like, fuck it, Kendrick in there somewhere. And he like bobbled it up a bit, came onto the ground, caught the ball, and it's like, oh my gosh, that was electric. That was crazy. And off note, Kendrick was my intramural softball coach just randomly that year.
At A&M or wow.
He just
I don't
randomly
know what he was doing there. I don't shoot.
Yeah, that was just insane. Like every play in overtime, it seemed like he was just jumping like 20 feet in the air and like one handing it. So awesome
Yeah,
game.
that was a game to remember.
So was that like your favorite game that you played in? I know there's a few here that we're going to talk about, but like, what do you
Yeah.
think?
I mean I think Clemson 2018 was awesome, was ridiculous. Because that was the first game that was like Jimbo's first big game. I just got done playing extremely well week 1, and then going into week 2 is like, can you can you sustain against a really good football team? And, Brett Venables, who's one of the best, defensive minds in college football, and they were sending a lot of stuff at us, and it was just a back and forth chess match. And, I think our offense had like 500 yards of offense against a really good defense, probably the best D line in football at the time. I
Easy.
think 3 first rounders and then second or third rounders. So that defense was stacked.
I
I
don't.
remember that was one of the losses that felt like a win. Like that was
Yeah.
like, I mean, maybe not to y'all as much, but like that
Yeah. Yeah.
we were like, holy shit, dude, we just went toe to toe with Clemson when they were Clemson, and that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Jimbo's message, I remember it was before the game. He's like, we're going to, uh, when we finish the game, everyone's going to be thanking me that I told y'all that we can play with them. And then after the game, he told us, he's like, yo, I told y'all we could play with them. It's like, it's just small plays. Courtney Davis, was it a touchback or was it out at the one? Don't reach the ball. And there's so many plays you look back at it and, T. Higgins makes in Trevor Lawrence's first throw in college football, throws it up to T. Higgins against over double team, Moss's 2 people, takes it to the house. It's just like small plays. I think T. Higgins scored another time when I think he pushed someone in the back, Keldrick Harper. So like just small plays and one thing go a different way, and a legacy at Texas A&M football could have started a little bit earlier.
It's true.
I forgot about the Courtney Davis play, and I forgot that T. Higgins was the guy in that game too. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
T. Higgins, yeah.
There's some crazy guys on that team. But I do remember, I don't know if it's like this for the players, but as a fan and a ridiculous football fan, going into College Station that week, you could literally taste the air and it was different. Like you could taste the Jimbo effect on the culture was changing like immediately. Like you could feel the energy in the air and it was like, oh, we got a shot today.
Yeah, that game was definitely different. I don't necessarily know what it was. I think it was the start of the Jimbo era. There was a lot of hype around it, even I think prior at that spring game. And, both offenses going back and forth. I was playing well. Kendrick had some big time catches. So there was a lot of hope. And I think that week one we played like Northwestern State. And everyone was really surprised about how accurate I was, how good the offense was, how efficient we were. Travion was coming back for, I think that was his junior year. So many pieces that were just kind of undiscovered, but like we had a lot of talent. So going into that next week, it was like, let's see what Jimbo could do. He's played against Dabo Sweeney for years, played against this team, and it was a brawl.
It's
Fun to
crazy,
watch
man.
too.
That feels like such a far away like existence of college football. Like things have just changed so much since then. But anyway, so we went from that atmosphere to fast forward to the COVID year, your senior season. No fans in the stands. There's a weird like shortened compact season. You guys obviously kick ass, go 9-1. You just lose that game to Alabama, who is obviously a fucking juggernaut.
Yeah.
We get to the end of the year. We think that there's a shot that we can get into the playoff. You guys get passed over by this overrated Notre Dame team to play against Alabama. What was it like the night that you guys found out that you got passed over?
Well, I think we had a meeting already scheduled. We were basically going to have a meeting right after they decided what 4 teams were going to go. So everyone was at home watching, and probably some people up at the facility. But I remember we were watching on our couch, and I was just like, I got a bad feeling about this. I think they're going to do Texas A&M how they always do us. And everyone knew. I mean, I think we won every game besides that Florida game, by 2 scores or more. Even
Yeah.
the bowl game, I think I forgot how much we won by, but it was over 2 scores. So every other team, obviously, we lost to Bama and then won against Florida on a game-winning field goal. But every other team we beat by over 2 scores. So against a really good SEC schedule. And I don't think anyone thought, Notre Dame kind of got lucky, in my opinion, for Trevor Lawrence not playing the first game. They ended up winning. Trevor Lawrence comes back and Clemson ends up winning that game. So, and Clemson almost won the first game too. So, yeah, it was heartbreaking because I'm not saying we would have went in and because I think we would have played Bama again. I think we would have been the 4, they were the 1, and they had a lot of firepower and they would have made certain adjustments against us that I thought they should have made mid game against us. Just the way we were attacking the middle of the field on offense, and so it was definitely a weird feeling, but everyone knew Notre Dame shouldn't have got in, and I think they played Bama and think they got blown out, and that
Yeah.
was a hurt Jalen Waddle who was coming off injury, where we played a healthy Jalen Waddle fresh off of off season. So yeah, everybody knew we should have been in.
I think there's some, and I was going to ask you, like, did you guys think that you could stack up differently against them? Because there's something to be said. You guys, and this was the biggest annoyance, like sticking point for the Aggies, is like you guys played them in week 2, and we're talking about 8 or 9 weeks later when the selection committee makes this decision. It's like you guys were a
Mm-hmm.
different team. You guys were rolling, and it felt
Yeah,
like we should have just. I think that part of the reason why they didn't put us in that spot was because they were like, oh, we already saw this game, like let's
yeah,
put another game out.
yeah. I think, like I said, I thought Bama would make certain adjustments that I thought they would have made week 2 against us, and but we were actually a little bit more depleted, I would say, only because Jamon obviously had opted out before the season, which increased Chapman's role. But when he got hurt against Florida, we then had to move Anais from the backfield to then go play receiver. So we were doing a lot of stuff with him out the backfield, and he was, killing Bama. He scored a touchdown down the left sideline, scored another touchdown out of empty, and got one-on-one with the linebacker. So we had to completely change his role, and then Chapman was a big piece for us, and then Wademeyer was obviously killing. So the thing with us was we were extremely efficient on offense. We were great on third down, and we had a great understanding of the run game, picking up blitzes. I just don't think we had the firepower, maybe it with the hurt Jalen Waddle, but the firepower that Bama had, it was just, we worked so hard to go and score, and then they can go score in 3 plays, and it's like, okay, we got to go back on the field. So it would definitely be interesting in a playoff game, but they definitely had a lot of great firepower, and they were also efficient with Mac Jones and those guys on offense. So it would have
Damn,
been a
there's
really
some
good game.
closure. That's some closure for us and all the Aggies who are listening. Is that Kellen Mond felt like there was too much firepower with Alabama, so maybe it didn't matter. It's all
Yeah, I
good.
mean, I'm a realist. I love football. I think even you always believe you're going to win going into a game, and the other thing too is we're on the road at Bama. We go right down the field and drive easy down the field, and we're moving, picking them apart, run game, everything. First third down in the red zone where we don't convert, I throw a back shoulder to Jalen Preston in a ball I thought he should have made the catch. We tried to go for it with one hand, thought he should have went for two. If he catches that and we score, you go up 7 on the road, it's really a whole different ball game. So we have to kick a field goal. I'm not sure if we made or missed it, but they went down and they scored, and Mechie had a ridiculous third down catch, and so it's just you have to capitalize in against those high powered offenses, and when you don't, they make you pay. So, but I mean, we were really good. We were really efficient and great on third down. But that's kind of my Bama 2020 synopsis.
Well, I mean, sticking with the 2020, and yeah, thanks for the closure. It real quick. I mean, do y'all not find out sooner than are y'all like us? You're just watching TV, the CFP committee, and you're like, what the like
Yeah,
it's
we find out with everybody else. I mean, we found out, they announced the top 3. We were pretty confident we wouldn't be in the 3. I was like, maybe we do get in the 3, but I was like, it's probably not likely. But then I'm like, okay, the 4, and I just had a bad feeling. So Notre Dame's name goes up, and it's me, Chase Lane, Hezekiah Jones are all roommates, and then some of our people who are with us. And I remember we all just left, went right up to the facility. They had the cameras out there, seeing everybody's reaction, but everybody was pissed, and so we were like, there's no going back. There's no committee saying, you know what, actually we think A&M should get in. So it was like, who are we going against in the Orange Bowl, and let's go dominate them.
and speaking of the Orange Bowl, RIP North Carolina that game. Where does that rank in terms of like your favorite games? I mean, amazing way to end out the career.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I think it's the greatest contrast from starting off at UCLA to then finishing your career, which at that point I really knew I was going to leave, barring any injury, but I knew I was going to leave. So being able to end it in that fashion with the win in the Orange Bowl, you're playing in Miami against a really good ACC team, and knowing in which way that my college football career started, it was one of the greatest feelings. So obviously there was a lot of journey stuff in between, but it was the greatest feeling to be able to get that win in the Orange Bowl.
That was
Feel
an
like
awesome win. I mean, that was like the best win we've seen as fans since we've been
Yeah.
around. Other than like Johnny Cotton Bowl, I don't know what else there could be.
Yeah, it was. It's weird. I don't remember. It was an electric game, but obviously with the change, long run where he's stumbling and then puts his hand down and takes it probably 75, 80 yards. Anais had a big game, but
Wait,
I
wait, hold
mean,
on. Bring it back. What do you call Devin Achen?
well, ever since I've known him, I've said a chain, but I guess
Achen.
it's a chan,
Achen. See, okay, so we the whole time as fans and watching TV, it was always a chain, and then he gets in the NFL and he says it was actually a Chan.
which I think, well, the whole marketing thing, and I don't know what game it was, but when he scored a touchdown, they said a chain off the chain. So for marketing pieces, I mean, even if they pronounced it wrong, if I'm him, I would have kept it like that. But yeah, a Chan, I guess, is a little bit more regular now.
Can't get used to it. We
Yeah, I
still say
can't get
a
used to
chain.
it. Yeah.
So that I mean that game obviously was incredible and you guys were up for it and that was like kind of a concern, right? Like you guys just got snubbed out of the playoff.
Yeah.
We don't know who's going to play, who's not going to play. Like are you guys still in the mindset of like hey, let's go win this game even though we feel like we should be in the playoff? Was that an issue for you guys?
Nah, I mean, we know we got snubbed, and it was known. I mean, it was a bunch of people pissed off. Jimbo was hot, but I think we had the veterans and a lot of guys who knew, hey, there's a good chance we're going to the NFL next year. So for us to just say, hey, this game is kind of a blow off game, only hurts us as individuals, us in the bowl game. So I mean, we had a lot of great leaders on offense and defense, and so you know, maybe if it was another team with maybe inexperienced guys, but we had a extremely experienced team, and we were up for the challenge.
So I guess you said you were already kind of decided you were going to go to the NFL. You might have had an extra year of eligibility with COVID. Like, was there anything that pushed you on? Were you just ready to go to the next step, or
Yeah, I mean, I think me graduating one, I had already played for 3.5, 4 years, and I felt like my body of work. And I mean, the crazy thing too is, if we come back that next year, we're probably a better team. And everyone who left for that year, I'm pretty sure based their decision based on if I was going to the NFL. So guys were like, hey, what are you doing? If you're leaving, we're leaving. 'Cause we're not going to stay if we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. So
yeah?
maybe Buddy, who I can't remember if he was going to leave or if he was going to stay based on what I did, but a lot of the guys, offensive line, and certain guys who were leaving, a lot of it was based on me. And I was like, I'll think about it. But I was, you're there for 4 years in College Station. You just finish off a 9-1 season. I can't remember my touchdown to interception. I think I threw 2 or 3 interceptions that year. So I played really well. I was like, it's time to go to the NFL.
riding high on the draft stock. So speaking of NFL drafts, drafted 66th overall by the Vikings. Just for the listeners, what was the pre-draft process going into that like?
It was honestly pretty smooth. It was pretty easy. I was training down in Miami at House of Athlete. I mean, it really goes by quick because you have the combine wasn't that year, but we ended up having a House of Athlete combine in like February. Even from the time the season ends in the Orange Bowl to the time of training was probably around 10 to 14 days. So it was a quick turnaround. And then pro day comes, and then after pro day, you'll have certain meetings with NFL teams, talking to offensive coordinators, play callers, position coaches, but after that it was getting ready for draft night, and then after draft night you got about 2 weeks until you report, and that it happens quick.
Is it
Yeah.
so? Being the COVID year, did you have any of the interviews or anything like that? Did they ask you any crazy questions, or did y'all just kind of bypass the whole interview process with teams?
No, so actually when I went down to the Senior Bowl, probably late January, we interviewed with every team there. So GMs, player personnel, assistant GMs, coaches, everything there. And, you go through 16 teams in one night, which was 4 hours. So I think every team was 4 minutes. The next day, you go through the other 16 teams, 15 minutes and 4 total hours. So the questions, I mean, you can only imagine, are for the most part fairly basic. So you're getting asked probably the same question 32 times, and so it gets extremely repetitive. But those type of processes you got to enjoy. And I think that year I ended up winning the Senior Bowl MVP. So it definitely helped my draft stock for sure.
Yeah. So you obviously you get the phone call. What was that like that day when the Vikings called?
Yeah, it was really weird because, like I said, for the most part, we're watching live on television. So I'm pick 66. It's the second pick of the third round. And I'm still watching the board at the beginning. I don't see Minnesota at all because we're on like pick 57, 58. And so I get a call from a Minnesota number, and I'm sitting there on the phone, and I don't know who answers. I was in such shock. And they're just like, hold on, hey, wait here a second. So I'm just waiting on the phone. About 100 people in my house, everyone's dead silent. And they're like, oh, okay, I don't know if I talked to Rick Spielman, who I talked to, like, hey, we're going to draft you right here up at 66. And I'm still looking at the screen because I don't see the 66. We're not even close to that number. And so honestly thought it was like a prank or something. It was, so I didn't really show a lot of emotion, but I was like in such shock that it was a weird feeling. But then when I started finding out it was real, I think I talked to Clint Kubiak and some other people. And then I got off the phone. I was like, hey, we're going to Minnesota. And so
Crazy.
Minnesota, honestly, I didn't think they were on my radar. I knew Clint Kubiak had liked me a lot, and the quarterback coach, but I wasn't sure how much they were on the radar. But yeah, so you wait about 7 minutes until pick 66 is announced. So I knew about 5 to 10 minutes prior, but I didn't know it was like that. I thought you wait for 55 to end, and then they call you 66, and then they announce. But it's extremely backed up.
Just
They don't give you an instruction manual for how to get drafted to
Nah,
the
not at
NFL.
all. You just wait for a call, make sure your phone is on ringer. Everybody's on edge in the house, and everyone's just waiting for a call.
So I
long as
wonder
Doesn't matter what team.
I wonder if that's probably because you see all these draft videos like where it's like the GM makes the call and he's like, I'm going to pass you off to coach. And then coach, I'm going to pass you off to the owner. And it's like maybe they do that because a bunch of guys feel like they're getting pranked. So that like validates them and lets it set in for them. Cause I don't know. I haven't heard that before, but it makes sense that you would think like if you're 9 picks behind, you're like, what
Yeah,
is this?
it
Like,
was it was around like, if I remember right, like 58, 59, and I got called from a Minneapolis number, and I was really confused. I was like, you always answer every call, yeah, on that day. And so whenever I think I could have sworn they said, hey, just wait right here for a second. I was like, I was like, is this a prank? So, and then like I said, I started talking to other people within the organization. I was like, man, this one of the best feelings I've had, top three best feelings.
Okay, so you were genuinely shocked, it sounds like, about Minnesota taking you. What were the teams on your radar? Like San Diego by chance? Dallas? Where are we going?
Nah,
Give me a run.
I don't remember. I don't think it was San Diego, Dallas. I can't remember, but I just remember being completely shocked with Minnesota. And it probably didn't help that I wasn't able to take visits, so you're not able to kind of get a feel with, what teams are really interested. So I mean, really, it's hard to tell when you meet with all 32 teams at the Senior Bowl which ones have an interest. You might have an idea, but and then even through meetings, it's hard to get a grasp. You're so locked in on them quizzing you on plays and, remembering, certain terminology within their playbook and, being able to draw up progressions that you're not even thinking about. Is this team interested in me? You're just like, I want to ace this test. And, hopefully my agent goes back and talks to them and he gets a good review.
So your agent didn't even really have like a good feel for like what were like the front runners for.
I mean, we had an idea. I can't remember off the top of my head, just because once you get in that second to third round area, it's a lot of it depends on who did those teams take in the first round. Were they able to get their guy? Maybe they weren't able to get their guy in the first round, so they're going to try and get a position group that's not quarterback in the second or third. So a lot of stuff is up in the air, especially once you start getting to those second and third rounds.
I think you're actually pretty good to answer this then. US Bank Stadium or Kyle Field?
I mean, Kyle Field is on any college stadium is really unmatched against. Obviously, we had some insane games in Jerry World, but
Mhm.
you can't compare 105,000. I mean, I don't know what the number is going to be this week, but I really hope we do break a record. I mean, this would be the perfect reason and the perfect week to break a record in Kyle Field.
Yeah, I'm
100%.
excited to talk about that. So we'll talk a little bit more about your NFL stuff. So you get to Minnesota, you're backing up Kirk Cousins. You've got Justin Jefferson on the offense. I think it was his second year. You've got Dalvin Cook out there. Do you have any cool stories about sharing a locker room and practicing with those guys?
Nah, I really remember it's always cool when you step into a locker room and really being able to see the vets operate in a certain manner. I got to college and I was about to say Kirk Cousins. I was watching Christian Kirk and just seeing like his professionalism. He knew he was going to the NFL, so he operated in a certain manner. So really being able, when I got to Minnesota, it was guys like Adam Thielen and, Patrick Peterson, a lot of the offensive linemen, obviously being in a quarterback room with Kirk Cousins and Sean Mannion was the other quarterback in there, both veteran guys. So I think it was just awesome to see really the veteran presence and just really having an understanding of what it takes to be able to operate in the NFL on a daily basis and really how professional you have to be and what it takes to be in the NFL.
It makes sense. I'm a huge Carolina Panthers fan, so shout out Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
He's still balling
I
out.
so that's you reminded me. I thought I was going to get drafted by Carolina only because they were the coaches down at the Senior Bowl and they knew how well I played that week. I had a really good impression in meetings and how smart I was and asking good questions and being able to on quizzes answer questions. So and then I was able to obviously back it up on the field. And so even when I worked out for them this past or last year during the 2023 season, it was certain guys who I still remembered from some of those interviews and stuff like that. The GM who I recognized and who we had a good conversation. So that now that you remind me, that was definitely one of the teams.
Honestly, doesn't surprise me. I think I remember your name was coming up a lot as like, hey, this is a guy that we could bring in. And they had a weird quarterback situation at the time. I think it was like Teddy Bridgewater. That was Matt Rule's first year. I
Yeah,
don't know if
Matt
you.
Rule. Yep, and
Yeah.
Matt Rule was there. Do you know if Joe Brady was he ever in
Yeah.
Carolina?
Yeah. He was the offensive coordinator.
Yep, yep. So yeah, Joe was there.
Yeah. I was just looking back at their draft. And actually, not a bad draft. All those
And
guys are still
Kellen,
around.
some backstory about Carolina. Agjack, we give him shit all the time for the Bryce Young pick. So I cannot wait till we give him shit again and be like, you could add Kellen, bro. Like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce is extremely talented, but I don't think people realize, and really people who are kind of immerse themselves within the NFL, and maybe if you study the NFL, people understand that situations matter. So you can, a lot of people compare CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, but if you compare situations in offensive power and schemes, Houston's situation outweighed Carolina by a large margin. If you flip CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, I do think CJ is better, but Bryce has a lot better season his rookie year, 1,000%. It's not even
Dang.
close.
And
I hate how
let's
logical you are about it. I hate
yeah,
that.
I mean, Kellen's just spitting facts right now. It's if we talk about, we don't have to have a whole extended conversation about this, but obviously the last 3 weeks, you're seeing exactly what he's talking about. Bryce is in a better system. Bryce has built his confidence. He's got more weapons now, and you're seeing him play better than CJ. We'll talk about it later. We'll just put it to the side. Bryce is cooking right now. He might be back. Okay, so I wanted to ask you real quick before we get out of the NFL stuff. You spent some time in Cleveland. I think it might have overlapped with like the weird Deshaun stuff. Did it? And was it weird in the building? Was there? Or I don't know. Like I don't even know what to ask about this. Like what's your?
Nah, it honestly it wasn't weird in the building. I think it was something Deshaun, you could tell there was kind of a cloud over his head based on the situation when he came back that year. And it probably was that you missed so much time. And so getting back in the building, getting back in the rhythm of things isn't just you miss half of the year and you're just, hey, I'm back to normal. So, but I mean, when he came back that offseason, I mean, he was lights out. He was unreal. I mean, from spring ball to camp, we ended up adding Elijah Moore, Marquise Goodwin, and those pieces to a really good offense, with Amari Cooper. But I mean, yeah, the offense was lights out that offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's obviously unraveled in a super strange way, like his entire deal and everything that's going on in Cleveland. So
Hmm.
just figured I'd ask. But all right, so let's get vulnerable for 1 minute here, if that's cool with you. All
Yeah.
right. I'm gonna speak on behalf of like all the Aggie fans, especially the people my age. Like we all went to college, like when you were the quarterback and when Jimbo was the coach. You might have been one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks that A&M's ever had, or any college football fan base has ever seen.
Hmm.
And it was a weird situation, right? Like it was weird circumstances. It wasn't far after Johnny. We had all these 5 stars coming in. We had high expectations for Jimbo's offense. So I don't know how online you are, but it's become like a meme where it's like Wolverine, like holding the picture of Kellen Mond, like wearing the
Yeah,
cowboy
yeah,
hat. We didn't realize what we had when we had it, type of thing. And
yeah.
you were the best quarterback we had since Johnny. So
Yeah. Hmm.
I gotta say, I'm gonna stand up for all the people that were stupid in college and were haters. I mean, you were the program leader. You are the program leader in passing touchdowns, passing yards, completions, attempts, everything. Hand up, stupid college kid didn't know ball. We're sorry, Kellen Mond.
Yeah, we are sorry.
You deserved better from the media, the fans, and we think you would have won a national championship with this team.
I appreciate that. And I think even looking back at it, it's really interesting. I think my first game of the year being at UCLA and the way that we lost, it was almost like impossible or so hard for me to gain the respect of everybody around. It was like you're constantly every single game, every single year trying to just gain the respect. And unless you play absolutely perfect, then you won't get the respect. So, I mean, I probably didn't even earn it back really until the Florida game. And, I think everyone was tweeting like Kellen Mond's playing the best football of his career. And so, I think that was the deal. And, another story, whenever I left training down in Miami and then the following year, spring ball starting, and I think it was Haynes King, Zach Calzada. I don't know if Connor Wegman was there or who was on campus at the time, but I got multiple texts that night after the first practice. And mind you, it's going to be rough all spring, first practices. But I got a text from a bunch of people within the building saying, hey, people don't know what you meant for this organization. Everything along those lines of people don't realize how good you actually were. Your leadership presence. And so, I think that was one of the biggest factors. But, I think one of the big things where I'm appreciative of is, when Jimbo came to my draft night, really no one knew he was even coming. He just showed up in a black truck with Mark Robinson and came in, and it was like one of the greatest moments people have ever seen, because how often does a head coach go to his, quarterback or even players draft party? I mean, there's got to be a lot of respect for the player for his head coach to show up. So,
Sure.
I think that speaks volumes.
Hey man, you deserved it, and I think everyone was just stupid, and we were in a weird time where it was like you're spoiled and you have these super crazy expectations because we were so close so many times as a team, and we
Yeah.
just like couldn't get over that hump. So, I mean, yeah, looking back at it now, everything you're saying, 100%. I mean, we miss you, bro.
Yeah, for real. I miss being competitive in games, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, nah, I mean, this year is a really interesting year. I think, especially with the quarterback position, the way it's unfolded with naming a starter gets hurt, then, Marcel comes in, then putting in Connor, and then benching Connor, Marcel going in, and then so it's been really weird, but I'm hoping we're able to establish some consistency, especially going forward.
So, what do you think about? I mean, it sounds like you've been keeping up with everything pretty closely. I mean, what have you
Mm,
thought about Mike Elko this entire season? And obviously, like, we'll talk about the Texas game in a second, but do we have a real shot?
yeah, I mean, I think the season's been it's been an awesome year for Elko in the first year. I think being able to establish, and you're one game away from being in the SEC championship game as a first year coach, and really the losses, you can make an argument that we were really closer if certain calls were made in our favor. I think Notre Dame was a game we shouldn't have lost. Some people may make the argument if Marcel was starting, maybe we win that game, but the offense looked extremely stagnant that week. If I remember, I mean, I was at the game, but receivers weren't creating a lot of separation. Offense was stagnant. The run game wasn't great. I think Connor made a few bad decisions. So, and I think I can't remember the exact score, but we were right there in the game. So, South Carolina, we go down or they go down and score. We go for it in our own territory on probably the 30-yard line instead of punting the ball. I thought it was a bonehead decision for going for it. Punt the ball, flip the field. If they don't go down and score, maybe they gain 10 yards. Maybe you can get a 3-and-out. You end up punting the ball back. Now you get it 1st and 10 on your own 40 or something. So but now you go for it. You don't get it. QB sneak with Marcel maybe isn't even the greatest decision either. And, then they get the ball on their own 30. And as a quarterback, one of the greatest feelings ever when you get the ball already in the red zone. You're like, I don't have to drive the field. That's the greatest feeling as a quarterback. So then you go down 14-0 and you work so hard that whole first half just to get back up. And I think we end up going up and then they ended up tying at the half. But you work so hard in the first half that you have no energy in the second half. I mean, just got mauled in the second half. And then that leads us to the Auburn game. I think the reason we played Auburn so well was because of that same style fashion that we played in South Carolina. We get down and we came back up. And this time against Auburn, we're able to sustain in the second half. I think especially the way a new team, new quarterback, I think honestly some of these losses are really beneficial. And obviously they're not if you don't have a chance to go in the SEC championship game. But I mean, you control your destiny now, and I have a feeling some of those losses will end up benefiting us
So,
going into this Texas week.
full circle, Kellen Mond's knee goes down. We lose to Auburn. Do you think that's a legitimate, like, time space continuum situation there? Like, do you think that if your knee hadn't gone down, we would have beat Auburn?
Which game was that?
I'm talking about LSU. I'm talking about your
Oh,
knee. Your knee goes down in LSU, and then we lose to Auburn because they changed the overtime rules.
oh, okay.
It's a butterfly effect.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if we would have had our style, we still could have lost. I mean, we had our opportunities in that game.
Oh, for sure.
Certain questionable calls. If I'm Elko, I mean, I know it's the heat of the moment, but 16 seconds left. They have no timeouts. We were probably already going to call some base day one coverage that we're good at on that final play. We could have you can still call that coverage when the clock is running, but now you call timeout. Now the play caller can tell, hey, this ball's got to be out of bounds. There's a full 5 minutes, or I mean, it feels like 5 minutes, but 2 minutes of conversation and letting every player know, let everybody know the situation. when everyone's running fast and they're signaling, we call our base coverage, whatever that is, some quarters, and we rush our four guys. Who knows? They throw an out route and the receiver doesn't know to get out of bounds. So we allow them to communicate to everyone and then get into calls, allow them to question which calls they should go with. So,
Yeah.
you know, maybe it shakes out different. If we win the game, maybe we're not questioning it. But I'm the type of guy, we're already going to call our base coverage. Let them run whatever play, some hurry up play. They're probably going to run four verticals and just see if they can get a jump ball. But I liked our chances if we didn't call the timeout.
Makes sense. But going back to what you just said, though, we control our own destiny. So, how bad we beaten Texas, and what quarter does Arch come in to replace Ewers this weekend?
I don't know. I think I don't know if y'all saw my tweet before this, but I said this is the biggest Texas A&M football game in history.
No doubt.
College game day is there. Ticket prices are highest it's ever been in history. Your rival who you haven't played in over a decade is coming to your house. So like it's the biggest game, and I think I truly think that Elko will have them ready. There's going to be a lot of details that we're going to have to be locked in at that I don't think we were locked in on against Auburn. The third touchdown where it looked like the corner had his eyes in the backfield and ended up leaving a receiver, I think number 8 or 80, wide open on the left side. A base quarters coverage where we get beat on the post route on the second play, our second drive of the game. So just like small things that we can't give up. If you're going to give up, 75-yard bombs and allow them to score that easy, you're not going to win. So
We got to start fast. We got to start
yeah, you
fast.
got to start fast. And I think if you allow Marcel to get into a fourth quarter with a close game, and it's been a back and forth, it's not we're down 2 or 3 scores and we have to fight so hard. Marcel has to make a lot of plays. Offense has to make a lot of plays. Defenses has to get a lot of stops. And you burn yourself out in the first half or in the first 3 quarters, you probably aren't going to be able to keep up. But if you come out and you're disciplined, you execute, if you're in the backfield and you have the quarterback wrapped up, it's a sack and not him getting out of it in a scramble and a first down. You have to be able to make those plays against a good team. We're a really good team. And I think a lot of people, I think the college football world will be surprised. I think A&M fans and loyal fans, we're going to say, hey, it's going to win. But I think as a football guy, A&M definitely has a chance. I don't think it's just some crazy upset. Like we can play with these guys.
I think we've had worse teams that have beat better teams, and everyone just kind of writing us off, right? And I just, it's one of those weird things where for Texas, I feel like they've played such a weak schedule that I honestly, my take is like it's going to be a blowout either way. Like I think that if we get up on them, they're gonna kind of fold, and then they're not going to be able to come back into it, just kind of how they did with Georgia, and then
Yeah,
vice versa. If we get down early, it's going to be tough. Like maybe we can push back. We've shown an ability to push back,
yeah.
but they're if their defense is playing as well as they can against us, it's going to be tough.
hmm Yeah, I don't know if I see blowout. A A&M blowout. Actually, I think a close A&M, like a game-winning field goal, would be better than a blowout.
Yeah, make it
Just
extra heartbreaking. Yeah.
yeah, make it extremely heartbreaking. I don't even know if I want a blowout.
I mean, this snowball with Kyle Field like getting louder and louder and shaking and like I don't know, just the big plays popping, popping,
Yeah,
popping.
I think
I can imagine it.
yeah, I can see a close game in the fourth, and Kyle Field will be. I'm hoping it's the loudest we've seen in a really long time.
It might
You know,
collapse.
I would not be surprised. I think, I think the game is close in the fourth quarter, and I think it's gonna come down to which quarterback makes the biggest plays in the fourth quarter. If the game is close, it'll come down to which quarterback is making the biggest plays, and I could see us winning for sure.
Honestly, if the stadium just collapsed somehow towards the end of the game, if Texas was winning and it just buried their whole team in Sark, or maybe at least just Sark, maybe not
Hmm
the college kids, just Sark.
Yeah.
And that could be a solid outcome too, honestly.
All right. Moving on from that. All right. So QB for the San Antonio Brahmas now. Just signed a little while back. We actually know a guy who covers that team and would definitely love to talk to you. I don't know if you're interested in it, but might be worth the connection there.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, the Brahmas, you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited about the season. I think it's just being able to get back and kind of get into football mode and play 4 quarters of a game instead of, playing a half of football or, playing the end of a game or getting 3 drives in a preseason, which, obviously you love what the NFL brings, but sometimes you kind of miss that thrill of being able to be in tight games, go and win games and find out some stuff about you. So I haven't played a full game in 4 years, so I'm excited about it.
It's crazy to think about. It's like you go from playing like straight organized football all the time to like just, waiting for your shot, wait for your shot. So that makes
Yeah.
sense.
That
So I
really
mean, yeah, we've been kind of like semi Brahmas fans for the last few years because we know this other Aggie guy who runs a podcast for him, and now
Hmm.
that we know you're the quarterback for him, we're all the way the fuck in on the Brahmas.
getting season tickets immediately.
Brahma.
Love it. I love it.
Okay, cool. So one last thing before you go, we do rapid fire with everybody. So we're just gonna ask quick questions and get your first thing that pops into your head, and then keep going. All right.
Cool.
All right. Rapid fire, sponsored by Hungry Howie's. You ready, Kellen?
Hungry Howie's. Let's do it. Is that what is That's a restaurant, right?
Pizza
Is
place in College
pizza in
Station.
College Station?
Yeah, I used to order Hungry Howie's. I remember that.
Dude, everybody did. It's the
Yeah.
flavored crust. It's amazing.
no?
Off of Southwest and Wellborn.
So that's okay.
People's
So
Village
because
area.
I lived off Southwest in Wellborn, so I must have been close.
Yeah.
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 We would house that like constantly at our
Get
house.
hammered and walk to Hungry Howie's all the time.
All right, rapid fire. Let's go. Ready? Favorite venue you played at outside of Kyle Field?
Florida in the Swamp, 2017.
That's cool.
That's
Favorite
solid.
place to eat in College Station?
I got a bunch, but probably Piata.
Really?
Dang, wow.
Yeah, I ate my senior year. I probably ate Piata every day, twice a day.
Did you
I
know
mean,
what Piata
I walked in and they knew my order. They got the double salmon already fried on the grill. Like it was routine every day.
Did you know what Piata was before they had a College Station store?
I don't think so.
Same. It's
But
delicious.
I was eating that, when I first got there, I was eating Lanes. I loved Lanes. But yeah, that probably Piata was my number one if the amount of money I spent there.
That's interesting. It makes sense. College athlete eating relatively healthy food. It was it was tough to find in College Station, so we could
Yeah,
just leave it.
I was eating salmon and pasta twice a day.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Favorite receiver you played with at A?
It's got to be Christian Kirk. It's got to be
Okay.
the OG.
Yeah, Christian Kirk was fun.
It was fun to watch for sure.
Vacation spot you want to go?
I want to go to Spain right now.
Spain's
Any
cool.
particular part of Spain or just the whole thing?
Nah, I actually don't know. I've heard great things about Barcelona. I've heard great things about Madrid. And then there's like a 3-city tour I want to do: Cordoba, Seville, and Granada. So there's like a lot of history down there too. So I do photography, so I can take pictures down there.
Ooh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
I went to Barcelona like a little over a year ago, and we did a little like day trip to Montserrat and Costa Brava. So if you ever go out there, I can send you the Rex, but it is like absolutely sick.
Is it expensive out there?
I mean, not like more than any other European place you'd go, but
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I guess like
Yeah.
kind of. All right, next question: Drake or Kendrick?
I mean, I'm a J. Cole guy, but Kendrick won.
You're okay. You're a J Cole guy.
Yeah, yeah,
That's somewhere in between. So,
yeah.
what'd you think of Kendrick's new album?
I have not listened to it. I'm not a crazy Kendrick guy. I just whenever him
Okay.
and Drake were going at it, I analyzed the battle, and I think it was a very lopsided win. I think it wasn't very close.
Expert
So,
analysis there.
Yeah.
our other co-host Billy Big Shot would have roasted you for this and fought you on this for another 20 minutes, but we'll keep going. The next one, we always ask this. You already answered it. Canes or Lanes?
Oh, it's lanes, bro. Just box combo. Yeah, get double fries. I mean, and I actually wonder because I think College Game Day they have someone supply meals for them is it possible to get them to try some lanes? Like everybody wants to try like canes at some of the popular spots, but people sleep on lanes.
They do. What was it? It was like $6 a box back in the
Bro, $7 for a
yeah,
full meal, full box of food, $7. And I,
8.25.
I live right behind the canes. If I walked out my backyard, I can be at lanes. If I walked out my backyard, I could be there in 15 to 20 seconds. So
Nice.
I was grubbing. Oh yes, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, box combo. I can't remember if they have coleslaw or potato salad, but I scratched that, double fries and 2 extra ranches. That was my order every time.
Have to scratch the potato salad for sure.
Yeah,
Dude, the peppery sauce. Just eating like that box was so satisfying. Just like making
it
it with
was.
your
I tried the ranch, but I think it was the Lane sauce that was the kicker. That spicy sauce
yeah, it's super good. All right, favorite touchdown you ever scored?
that I threw or that I ran or
Either one, either one.
favorite throw. My goodness. I mean, 2020 Florida, or probably 2020 Florida to Caleb Chapman,
There were a lot of
that deep post route.
yeah, there were a lot in that Florida game.
Favorite run was probably the second play of the game against NC State, touchdown, like 75-yard run.
Yeah,
Or it could
fuck.
have been the Arkansas one, 2017, where they called my foot out,
My
and we looked up at the scoreboard in Jerry's world, and it was obvious I didn't step out. And Sumlin's reaction was,
as it should have.
yeah, as it should have.
God, you guys just dominated Arkansas. Like we don't talk about that enough, bro. Dominated
Yeah,
Arkansas.
yeah,
All right.
dominated Arkansas. You know, South Carolina too. South Carolina always get the SEC East at the time always gave great matches, but I don't think I ever I lost to Georgia, but I mean, still that was a hell of a game in 19. But
Yeah, yeah,
Was
South
that a close?
Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, I'll beat them every time.
Wasn't the
yeah.
Georgia game like a really like rainy and gross day too?
Yeah, it
Yes.
started off raining in the first half, which was horrible. That week I had hurt my toe. I got stepped on and I had to wear, if y'all go back and look at the game, I was wearing like big, huge lineman shoes to like protect my feet. And so they were like real blocky shoes. It was horrible. And then we played them right after South Carolina, and I took a hit against South Carolina. I got beat up that game, and I had a sternum contusion and like some torn ligaments in my hand. So like my body was, and then I think I was wearing the knee brace at the time too because I sprained my MCL against Arkansas. So my body was destroyed, and I just remember going into that game. I think I took a Toradol shot, and my body was completely numb.
Oh my God.
You were
Yeah,
certified, no doubt. Oh my god.
yeah, yeah. Toradol shot, and then I kid you not, I kicked in like 3 minutes, and you don't feel nothing in your body.
Insane. I'm sure they have some crazy, crazy drugs that just get around the NFL too. All right. Are you a Costco guy?
I respect Costco, but I'm an HEB guy.
Okay,
Fair
that's
enough.
fair. Do you know the Costco guys on
Nah, are they? What's up with them?
like you don't know Big AJ and or Big
Nah,
Justice? Okay, never
nah.
mind.
Nobody knows them back then.
I'm a big time HEB guy. I don't know if it. Do y'all know where HEB started? Was it in
San
San
Antonio.
Antonio? Yep. So yeah, that it was born and raised ingrained in me. HEBs all across San Antonio.
Coming
Okay,
from
fair enough.
Dallas, you don't have HEB, and you get to College Station the first time, and you're like, "What? What is this amazing place?"
Here, everything's better.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
where it is.
for
Damn,
sure.
I never even put that together. All right, best teammate you ever shared a locker room with, like NFL, college, anything.
Best teammate, man. I have so many. God. I mean, the guys who I looked at, like being in the locker room with Jacoby Brissett was awesome. Adam Thielen was awesome. Um,
Thielen's a man,
you know,
certified.
Christian Kirk and those guys, like that whole 2020 offensive line, like they were tight and we were all tight, Carson Green, Jared Hawker, Ryan McCullum, Kenny Green, Dan Moore, like it was fun sharing the locker room with those guys. Yeah, I can go on about phenomenal teammates I've had.
Sweet. All right, yell leaders or cheerleaders?
I'm a yell leader guy, gig 'em.
They always feel like they have to say it.
Standard pick.
All right, and then do the Aggies win on Saturday?
We do win. I
Hell
think it's
yeah.
a tight game, and I think we storm the field. It'll be better if it's a tight game and we win versus I don't see a blowout. I don't think that's possible. I could be wrong, but two like legit teams, playoff caliber teams going toe to toe.
You have a scoring prediction.
Wow.
The
Okay.
exact score.
You put him on the
The
spot.
the exact score, I could see like a 30, 31, 28 A&M.
Ooh.
Could be totally wrong. It might be a shootout and it's in the feast.
Just please just
But
win
you know,
this game.
I think the big thing will be uh how Texas's offense handles the crowd. You know, their coach Sark has been in high intense environments. I think he was at Bama and when they played against A&M, I'm not sure.
I think
I
he
Yeah.
maybe
was. Yes, he was.
so I mean everyone knows what Bama I mean what Kyle Field sounds like. So and then our defensive coaches, Elko, you know, Stan and those guys, will we be able to get a beat on their cadences? You know, Texas is a good team. They'll probably try and mix in cadences. Will we
Yeah.
have an idea after the first quarter and then we could start timing blitzes? Those will be all the chess match things that I will be deciding instead of 2nd and 10 and it being 3rd and 4, can we get a sack and make it 3rd and 16 and we know we're going to get off the field. So once we get into the rhythm of the game and like being able to time blitzes and get sacks and those things, I think that'll be the big chess match. I don't think necessarily our offense versus their defense.
So I've had a really stupid conversation with a lot of our friends the last few days about this. A lot of people are saying like they'd rather face Quinn Ewers than Arch Manning. And from a quarterback's perspective, I'm wondering what you think because people just think like, oh, Quinn, he can't move around, like he's a screen merchant, yada yada. But to me, I'm like, that's a really good scheme, and he's like the engine for it. Like whether he's
Yeah.
super talented or not, that's up for debate. But he understands the system and he gets the ball where it needs to be. Whereas Arch is like you're throwing him into a raucous environment, and he kind of flailed against Georgia. Like
Yeah.
even if he's an athlete, I don't think that he's the better option.
Yeah, I don't think so. And truthfully so, like once I got to the NFL and once most guys get to the league, it's really hard watching college football. Just it's a totally different game.
Yeah,
And so I really don't even watch Texas. I mean, I watch some stuff and I keep up just, you know, because I knew we were going to be playing them. But I mean, they got talent all around. I mean, I don't think they would just throw Arch in there in a hostile environment. But it's always weird. Sometimes the people who kind of get thrown into the fire in that situation and they end up having their best game. So, you know, we saw that with Trevor Lawrence and, you know, his first pass ends up being a touchdown in Kyle Field. So,
that was classic. Ugh.
yeah, it's one of those deals. I mean, I don't think it makes like a huge factor. I think it'll come down to the chess match between Elko and their play caller. You know, how quick will we be able to get a beat on their snap counts? What are they doing with their protections? You know, are they going to throw screens whenever we try to blitz them? And can we come up and make the tackle when we, you know, send certain pressures? So it's going to be it'll be a chess match all night, and you know we're going to get free hits at the quarterback. We're going to get free runners multiple times at the quarterback. Do they get the ball out their hands quick? Are they, there'll be stuff dialed up. You know, a lot of times we'll be up on the line acting as if we're blitzing. They check into maybe a max protection and we back out and we win. We got to win those reps. So it'll be a chess match the whole entire night.
I can't disagree with you, Kellen. This was just awesome. I'm sorry we kept you so long, but this was a great conversation. I know our fans are going to love this, and I know Aggie fans are going to love hearing from you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're coming to the game. We want to extend an invite to our AgKnocks tailgate. If you had some time to drop by, feel free. We can send you the information when we get off. But again, thanks so much for jumping on. It was good talking to you, man.
Appreciate y'all. It was a great show. I loved it.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thanks.
y'all.
All right, hang tight.